Hello, hello. Hey. Oh, perfect. This is so perfect. When things finally work for once, it's just beautiful to see sequences just like work without any type of hiccups whatsoever. So, hey guys, how's it going? My name is Justin, and welcome to episode what episode 382 Dang Prodcast? I hope so. Be kind of awkward, but I guess with that high of a count, like who's really counting, right? Anyway, so welcome everyone. Welcome to the podcast. It's just me for this time around, which, to be honest, it's been actually quite a while. Like usually I have like Mark on board. I'm half expecting him to pop in at some point and say, "Hey, I'm here. Give me the Discord call." Otherwise, yeah. I will say though that I haven't heard anything from the buddy Phil about jumping in on podcasts. We were able to talk yesterday. Anyone who's been tuning in on Twitch, that DangPro_gaming. As far as what was going on over there, I actually hosted his channel last night instead of doing my own stream because he was wanting to do a discussion over some current events that happened just recently, actually, that morning, actually. So I think I'll just go ahead and just jump into the main topic of that bit because it's kind of like the hot topic that everyone's talking about on Twitter. It's the fact that we had an Animal Crossing Direct, right? And, you know, of course, it's introducing all the new things that they're adding into this big old update. It's like one of the free updates that they're adding for Animal Crossing. It's actually going to be one of the last big updates that they're going to do for the game. It's a bit unfortunate. It's a little bittersweet. I know it's been like a little over a year, but still, jumping into that game has always brought like just a nice calmness to it that I think everyone needed, and which is why the game was so successful. But in any case, they added a couple new things, you know, like the cafe, the roost. Funny enough, when I did my reaction to that bit of it, I read it as the roast, and I was like, oh no, Kirby, don't come closer. But no, it's the roost. They added some additional, conveniences, such as like the maneuverability of like you within your own home, fitting into tight spaces, which I actually am happy that they're doing that. They're also doing like a little swap meet type of situation with some of the usual like random visitors, and they're all putting them onto that island. The guy who does the photography stuff, he's actually doing a little swap meet, and you can actually see some of the NPCs that you get to see on a random day of the week. Because if you've been playing the game long enough, you'll realize that characters like Red are kind of hard to like come by and really track down. They just kind of like appear out randomly. So it's one of those things where you're more likely to find them there and then buy some, I guess, limited like merch from like that end of it. So I think that's a super cool thing that they decided to add in there. I can't think of any other additions like in the free update, but they do have a DLC expansion. I think it's called Happy Home Paradise, or at least that's what Phil was calling it last night. So I was like, okay, yeah, it's a Happy Home Paradise. And it's kind of nice. It's pretty much you as a villager completely like well off now building vacation homes for new villagers, maybe some existing villagers once you get the business booming. And you pretty much just consistently do that over, I don't even know how long, but essentially that's kind of like the main stake of the game is you are building and designing vacation homes for other villagers. So I think that's a super nice little addition. And Phil was referencing a lot more about like where that reference is from. I don't remember from the top of my head. You'll have to check out like Motion Man 64's Twitch channel. He has the archived stream of it from last night, and I gotta say, I'm super duper impressed by like how the layout ended up. Before, to give a little bit of context on what happened last stream, before we even started, we were having some technical issues on Phil's side as far as setting up the 2-man call, kind of like how we have the whole podcast setup that we got going on here. Let me see, like this like situation here. Oh, this one I know. Those who are actually visually watching the podcast, I got a still of me as like a placeholder. It's great. But yeah, Yeah, so he was having some issues there, but I was happy to help him out, and he was able to find like a really good solution. Um, that's Mark. Mark's saying like when we start in the podcast, I'm saying like now. We've been starting since. Actually, how long was it started? Technically speaking, it's been a couple minutes. We had to start like the whole waiting room situation and everything like that. But yeah. All right, we got Mark on call. Let's just see if this works. Hey, Mark. Testing, Mark. 1 2 1 2. It may take a second. Let me make sure I have like all my settings set up. It's actually perfect that, Mark, you're deciding to jump in right now, because I was just kind of given the brief introduction as far as the Animal Crossing Direct. That's super strange. I think we're still trying to connect, Mark, so we can't hear each other quite yet. Yeah, let's try one more. Try one more again. All right, let me. Okay, this might take a little bit. I guess I'll go ahead and continue. Pretty much the DLC is pretty much just Vacation Home Paradise. You're just building vacation homes for villagers and just generally making them happy. And I just like the vibe of it. Animal Crossing Directs have always had like a really chill vibe to it, but what's going on is that they're setting a price for that. That's like about $24.99, essentially $25 for the entire thing. You could buy that separately, or, and this is the big thing that came about with this, was the fact that and Mark is typing right now. Just kind of let me know. Okay, and I have to give Mark the call then. Let's see if this works. Testing. Mark?
Sorry about that.
No, that's fine. I think, sorry that my response sounded very annoyed, but it was just trying to it's me trying to balance two conversations at once now. I was just telling the folks that, about the Animal Crossing Direct, just kind of taking care of like most of the stuff, and then slowly, surely enough, getting into like what was the big thing to talk about yesterday. And that was Nintendo Switch Online plus the expansion pack. The reason that's coined in with Animal Crossing is that the DLC, which is $25, actually gets included into this expansion pack if you choose to go that route. So you can buy the DLC separately, or you can decide to go in and just go for the expansion pass, and it'll just have the DLC added to it. So we have Ghost Hand jumping in. Hey, Ghost Hand. He's saying it's weird since everyone is moving to a live service service model. Excuse me. You pay like $60 and everything else is cosmetics, but Nintendo is asking for like a fee entrance.
Yeah, they're asking for it. I just told them in there, like, that's fair. It's like, why the entrance fee?
Wait, what do you mean exactly by entrance fee? Because isn't that like just how it all is? Or are you talking about like a free trial type of situation and then they start doing it?
Like, I think because remind me really quickly, because I have a vague understanding, but what is it that people are upset about it right now?
It's kind of hard to grasp. I think the situation is that there's a big portion of it just dealing with the fact that like, oh, well, like you want us to pay like I guess it was $50 like a year to play these older like console games. Like, oh, I guess I'll just slip into emulation and stuff like that, which of course is not legal as far as like actually just doing it to gain access to the games. Preservation wise, it's fair. So there's kind of like a
not
gray
legally,
area.
but yes,
it's a gray area. If you want to do it for preservation purposes, where it's like, you know, you have the copy of the game, but it's like, you know, you don't really want to go through the process of like setting everything together, then that's a good alternative. But if you don't have the copy of the game, then you shouldn't do that. But like, who would know that? That's the big thing. So I guess that's one of them.
Yeah, and Ghost is right. Most games today are adopting the season pass model, and I think that the season pass model definitely does have its benefits, and I think that it can be really good.
Mm-hmm.
But there are definitely some companies that have done it better than others. Like, I think one example of the season pass being done the best is going to be Halo Infinite, just because of how they've described doing it, where it's like you can go back and do any season pass you want. You can just start that season pass, and all your progress will go towards it. You can start it anytime.
That's interesting. Yeah. I think I was
That is
looking.
the best way.
Yeah, I think I was looking at more of just like. Really, I was talking about it to Phil like last night, but the PlayStation Now or PlayStation Plus type of situation. Well, actually, no, it's PlayStation Now, and then Game Pass. This is kind of like a near direct comparison, if not for the fact that Nintendo's not giving you like Switch games for free like that. But
If you get a Switch game for free, ha!
Yeah, but for now they are slowly shipping out just N64 like games as well as Genesis games, and I think I mean honestly, like, when you raise the price of something, people are going to start talking, especially the ones who are the most like audible about it or vocal, and that's understandable. That's just like on every front. But I don't know, when I was talking to Phil, I think ultimately we came down to the fact that like no, it's still very much so worth it. From Phil's side, it's mainly about like the value of that game. Like if you were to try to gain it or access it outside of Nintendo Switch Online Plus expansion and also do it legally, it's still very expensive. So what Nintendo's offering, just so you could just play this game, is still a really good deal at the end of the day, especially when they start adding more and more stuff to it.
Even if it comes off kind of scummy.
What do you mean by scummy though?
I think it comes off scummy as in just the amount of increase to the price.
I guess so.
It's because it is a $30 increase.
Yeah, it is a $30 increase, but that is per year.
That's a pretty big increase.
It's per year though. Like
it was $20 a year.
Now
it's $50 a year.
Right, but like you could say that about like
I know, but they're equating the value of the few games that they've put on just now to being worth that much.
This is also true. We shouldn't like ignore that fact. We also,
and I mean, they might be good. They might add more in the future, but it's just a large price tag to stamp on when it's just starting.
I suppose so. Yeah. Honestly, well, it's kind of hard because even if they were to say like, oh, you can try out like a free trial of like the expansion plus like for the first like 30 days, and after that it's like $4 a month, and then that won't feel like that impactful. It's the fact that like they're doing it like on a yearly subscription that like it has to size up to what it actually is, which is like $50 a year, and people are like, what the fuck? No. Even though, like, yeah, when we look at like $20 a year, it's like, oh damn, dude, that's very minimal. And when you look at it monthly, it's like that's super super cheap. But now people are looking at like, oh, $50 a year. But like, then again, I can't really say this completely because of the fact that some people just have Nintendo as their only console, but you have to compare it to like some of the other subscription based like out there. Again, Xbox, PlayStation, it's like $10 a month unless you decide to go on a yearly plan, which kind of deducts it a little bit more so. I think PlayStation still has that. I'm not sure about Xbox though. I don't know if they have like a yearly subscription per se. I just know that they have like the Game Pass Ultimate, which is like an additional $5 for the online and Game Pass together. Otherwise those are separate. But ultimately, like they're all like more expensive than what Nintendo's offering like right now. And
well, Game Pass Ultimate it's Xbox Gold and Game Pass for $15 a month.
Yes, it's them combined, so that like in the past you would have to pay like $10 for Xbox Gold and then $10 for Game Pass, but now like a good while ago they combined the plan together. You can still get like Gold separately if you want to. But this is just like a really good alternative for those who do both. So it's
actually getting your money's worth.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess, I mean, Xbox has like a gigantic library, so no one's really just saying anything about that. But like with Nintendo, it's kind of different because they do have like a smaller library of games like coming into this, and they are saying that they're expanding it. We just don't know when. And after those like games, like when's the next like 64 game? What's the next Genesis game coming out? And I guess also Phil mentioned like their track record for like new NES and Super NES isn't like that grand nowadays. They still got games to add. It's just that like for some reason that they're holding back on some more critically acclaimed titles here and there.
Here and there.
Yeah, you know how like I think there was a situation where like Phil was asking like how often does like the Super NES like library get like updated? It's like 3 to 4 months. It's like, and like within the 3 or 4 months you get like 3 games, and like maybe one of them's notable and the other ones are kind of like filler. So
Filler.
it's like, yeah, it really is. It's
filler episode.
I don't want to say this, but like I also kind of feel the same way with Xbox Gold, where it's like here's your free games like for the month, and it's like what are these 3 games? Oh, I know that 4th one though. Not to say that
that's up for everybody.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, you know, I'm pretty sure like each game has their own value, for sure, and like their own niche audience that will find them like just as valuable. But we can't deny that there are some like really good games out there just for the general audience. And you know, if Nintendo just kind of doesn't give like people that type of game like every so often, you'll find less people like really finding it appealing. And therefore when they have something like Nintendo Switch plus expansion pack showing up as new stuff, people aren't really going to be that big on it, I suppose. Or at least that could be a factor. That and the fact that like I know for me personally, when they showed off the library of expansion or games like from day one for 64, I feel like a good number of them I've already played before, and I'd rather play something like, you know, newish, but not Windbound or Windback.
Windbound, Windback.
One of those two. And then I see like in the future Kirby 64, I'm like, oh, that's it. That's when I hop in. Yeah, for me personally, I just really would love to play like games I never got to play before. And it really does appeal to the fact that like for you to do all this, like you either have to buy like an older console that had virtual console and not support like what they're currently going for, which is a subscription based service, or you have to go find like the physical itself, and that's already money as it is. So I don't know, like I think also it's just it is really the fact that people just see that price tag increase and like, man, dude, that's like a whole $30. Which understandable. Like if you were to tell me like our I guess technically previous generation games, which are now 60, and the next generation is like 90, it's like oh that's a lot. I mean the $10 increase for PlayStation 5 games is just like even I'm hesitant on those for sure. So understandably, but part of me also thinks that like, well, this is $30 is like an additional like yearly though, not monthly. So I understand that like money is still very important. I understand that, but it's also like we've seen like kind of worse as far as like how much increase you have to pay like per like month. And you know, let's say for example, I mean, what should we call it? If you get like, let's turn over to Xbox and say like, oh, you're getting Xbox Gold, but now you want to like jump into Game Pass, which is technically, well, actually both of them together, Xbox Gold and Game Pass would categorize themselves as Nintendo Switch Online plus expansion. But if you're just getting Game Pass for the first time, that's like $10 like a month, which is technically $120, like an additional $120 a year. So you're like, oh, that's quite a lot. So, but of course, now it's with Game Pass Ultimate, but that's also like $5 additional like a month too. So it is quite a lot when you compare it to other ones. But I understand, like, from someone just specifically looking at Nintendo's side, that that's still additional money, and they just want to get as much value out of it. And maybe some people just don't, because some of these are just retro games, and you know, there might not be a demand for like retro games, and they rather just have like the idea like, oh, you can get these day one releases like through Nintendo like Switch Online and expansion day one and for free. You just have to pay like this like yearly fee for it. I mean, that sounds super dope, but Nintendo's not down for that. They are absolutely not.
How many times have I told you Nintendo's slogan? But that makes too much sense.
What was it? I was watching a Maximilian dude stream, and he was talking like a little bit about this, not directly, but it was something about like why Nintendo and maybe some other companies are kind of like this, where like they are taking these different approaches here and there. Or rather, it could have been someone else. It could have been a situation where they were talking about the cloud version for Kingdom Hearts and stuff like that. But I remember hearing something about like, I mean, this is just like a general speaking thing, but like the idea that maybe perhaps the mentality is that they always want to like progress in ingenuity of how they want to deliver like content to people, instead of trying to go back and like bring it over that way, like porting and whatnot. And I don't know, I felt like I want to bring that up, like, and I'm not sure if it applies to what we're talking about right now, but it does make sense. But maybe that's just not what Nintendo does. They're just like, nah, like it does make sense, but we have like a different like ideology for like all this. And that's not defending them. That's just saying like perhaps that's what it is for them. I do want to highlight things that Ghost Hand was saying. What was it? I think that mainstream games are going for a free-to-play model in the next 10 or 20 years. Destiny 2 being the biggest example. Selling skins and expansions for 20 to 30 bucks makes them just a lot of money. Then again, I could see Sony and Microsoft and other studios go to the free-to-play models. Nintendo will still be asking for 60 bucks for Mario Sunshine in 2040. And oh, okay, if we're gonna go in that direction, yeah, it's kind of, I can't really get behind that per se, but like, I don't know, it's like, where else would you get that stuff that is legal? You'd have to go back and get like the old retro consoles if you could, and buy it from there. Another option would have been like the virtual console. Like those games were individually like being sold for like what did Phil say, like $8 to $11. But I guess there wasn't a lot of backing behind that either. So, and this is something else I heard like online, so take it with a grain of salt, but the idea that Sega wasn't really behind Virtual Console, that's why they don't really show up there on their library. But all of a sudden, here's Sega Genesis games, so there was some negotiations there. And I think that's simply because of the fact that Nintendo seeing that subscription-based service does work, and as long as you negotiate with another party about like where the funding goes and everything like that, I think that's kind of where they're leaning towards right now. Oh, but Ghost Hands just got to bounce, so have a great weekend. Thank you for your input. I would say that I agree that a lot of games are, well, a lot of companies are going with the free-to-play model, with just, if it's not like a free-to-play game, it's just like a subscription-based service that includes games they can just play for free. And I think that, I don't know, I'm on the side that I'm totally fine with what Nintendo Switch and expansion pack. I wish they could change the name. But I guess
told you it wasn't exactly the most original name, but it's definitely the most honest.
It's the most, or at least this is what Phil said. It was the most referential to what Nintendo 64 had, which I can give it like a nod, but also, please, a shorter name, please.
I was like, it's either a nod and Phil's right, or it's a reach and he's wrong.
I mean, like, there was an expansion thing for the N64. I just couldn't tell you. It could have been the expansion, like, Rumble Pack, or it could have been some other, like, data thing. I don't really remember. I was not in that era. I never really followed, like, N64 games that much. But I definitely do want to like try out like some games like there. I honestly want to try like an online like Star Fox 64. Of course, I want to play Kirby.
I'd be down for 64. Star Fox 64.
I never played F-Zero X. I've only played like GX, which is like the GameCube game, which I think was also kind of like an improved like port version of like an arcade F-Zero Grand Prix type of thing. But yeah, I just want to try out those other games as well as anything else that kind of pops up too. But yeah, I guess that's all I really wanted to say. Ultimately, this is like the conversation that Phil and I had, but for like 2 hours on his side.
Aye.
We were just talking about like all these different like games that could possibly be released later on for the life cycle of the expansion pack, both on 64 and Genesis side. He's a lot more knowledgeable in that area, so do feel free to check that out on one of his VODs at MotionMan64 for sure. And I did want to bring up another thing. It's not really directly related to Nintendo. This is actually another third party that was actually in charge of doing Metroid Dread, actually. This was some news that came up recently about Mercury Steam. They've done one of those Castlevania games. I think I was just looking at it right now. Oh, yeah. Castlevania, like Lords of Shadow back in 2010. In 2017, they were in charge with kind of doing the remake for Metroid 2. In this case, they called it Metroid Samus Returns. And they did a really good job on that. And now it's Metroid Dread, which is phenomenal, honestly. And we'll talk a little bit more about the game experience there. But they were saying, though, that some people behind Mercury Steam had to call out what was going on because apparently their names weren't mentioned in the credits. Some of the staff weren't included in the credits. And apparently this, I'm really just kind of short phrasing it, Mercury Steam responded saying that like staff have to be working for a minimum of 25% of like the production in order to be included to the credits, with some exclusions to note, but that's pretty much their statement. And I'm not sure about like how everyone else feels. I'm just gonna put it out there that it just doesn't kind of sit right with me. Like that's yes, I know, right? Yeah, they're upset too. They're like, what the fuck? Like, listen, I was sitting on someone's lap during the development time. I got
you. Hold on.
Ooh, yeah, they're really pissed now.
Nah, my brother's home. They're like, oh.
Well, but yeah, so I don't know. I just wanted to like leave that out there. It's just like I don't think that's right. I don't know what would be the better solution to it. It's just that like, you know, and there's different scenarios in which, and maybe that's one of the exceptions where they could have had like one like staff member have to leave unexpectedly, but want to return back, but because it's like a 25 like percent production period in which they need to be involved in, that they may not be able to be included. And for them to speak up like that, I think that's important as far as just knowing what Mercury's team is doing right now. Sorry, I might need to like keep the headphones like separated here.
You good?
Yes, I get super distracted.
You hear burr, burr, you're like, ooh.
No, it like it actually like stops my thinking process for a little bit. I'm like,
does it actually?
Not like super, but like it's hard for me to like just keep the flow of the conversation because like it's almost like a stop. And it's a verbal stop.
Drop.
But yeah, that's all I really want to say. The whole Mercury Steam situation doesn't sit right with me. Having said that, though, Metroid Dread was phenomenal. And I wanted to say because it came out like last weekend, and I was able to finish it that weekend. Well, technically Monday, this past Monday. That's a very long stream, and I was also really saddened too. I should also talk about this too, that without me knowing, that stream actually had like an overabundance of like game audio overlapping with my own, and not in the good way. The audio balance was out of whack, and unfortunately I never foresaw that because Elgato was acting up, and I had to literally remove the source from everything on OBS and then reapply it. And that wasn't like easy by itself. That was kind of a little bit more tedious. But once I got working, I was like, yes. But I had no idea that the audio had reset itself to like 0 decibels, which in game when recording is super loud. You have to set that stuff down to like -26, -30, and you're good. So ultimately, when you watch that, I do want to like upload that on YouTube like eventually. But when you see that or watch the VOD of it, you're gonna have a hard time hearing what I got to say for the next 4 hours of that stream, which was me to the end of the game. So it's a bit of a bummer, but it was still like a really good time. I would say like some of the bosses, like the later end bosses, are really challenging, and honestly, I personally can't really say or have any particular criticisms for the game per se. I guess if anything, I guess I would have loved to have like a remap selection thing, because
Remap your buttons.
yeah, remap your buttons, because the button to pretty much like do side dodging is like across from like the shooting button, and right below is the jump button. So you
This is on Metroid.
yeah, this is on Metroid. So you have like one finger on the shoot button, and if you want to like quickly dash while you're holding your charge, you kind of have to like use like the upper portion of your thumb to press that button in order to release, and it's just not really 100% comfortable, but you can make it work. It's just that with the Pro controller as it is, that's not really easy. If I had something set up kind of like the Elite Series 2, that won't really be a problem. You just assign like that dash button to one of the little triggers in the back.
I mean, technically, you could get the adapter to use the controller on the Switch.
Yeah. And that's not like a problem or anything like that. So I'm just like, I wanted to do that.
You use Metroid Dread? You use the Pro controller? No, I use the Elite Series 2.
Nani? And you know, there's no problem with that. I think that's like more power to you when you have like that type of situation where it's like, this could have been better. Wait, I can make it better. And all of a sudden you can just behold. I'd totally be down for it. I just haven't really gotten to finding like a really reliable one, Pacific adapter for that. I really wish it was, and maybe it is as easy as this, but it'd be cool if I had like the Windows 10 like wireless adapter, sync that to the Elite Series 2 and just plug it into the dock, and just and have that work. I'll have to look into that. I was definitely.
Is that all it takes?
It could take that. I just know that only like there's some other third parties that pretty much do that same thing, and you just have to sync up the Bluetooth of your controller to that particular dongle, and you just plug it into your Switch that way, and actually it does work like that. Otherwise, if you try to just use like a USB cord to USB-A into the dock, I don't think it works like that.
It doesn't work like that. I mean, yeah, you can't just do it like through the. You think it'd be simple as plugging it in. Nintendo said, "Ha, we knew you'd think of that."
Nah, use the first party proprietary stuff. We want you to get that Switch Pro controller, which it's not a bad controller, but you know.
It's there's like, oh, you thought you could do it. You thought so. You thought.
Then third party shows up with their actual dongle, and they're like starting to sweat a little bit, like, oh, easy. It was just a joke. Don't do this. And they're like, slip, or I'm sorry, jack in. And you're like, oh no, please.
Jack in. Oh.
What was that? Nothing. I just surprised is all. In any case, Metroid Dread's like phenomenal. I've said this before, but it sits like up there in one of my games of the year. As far as like games of 2021, next to Scarlet Nexus, but I've definitely played like a lot of games that are prior to like 2021 that I played this year too. But it still sits pretty high up there still. I haven't really like come up with a listing or anything like that of like games of 2021, as well as like just games in general for this past
Do
year.
I hear tier list stream?
A what?
Do I hear tier list stream?
A tier list stream?
Tier list.
It'd be cool if I could do that, like, and make it easy, because I'm not sure if tier lists can, like, especially the website itself, if I can really find the specific games and just keep it to just those games from across different platforms. Otherwise, we might come up with a big honking list.
Big honking list.
A unit, if you will.
Absolute unit of a fucking list.
But yeah, no, that'd actually be a pretty cool idea. I think I'd be down to do that. Like probably like near the end of like December or something like that. Just like reference like my spreadsheet of like all the games that I've worked on thus far, games I've specifically finished this past year, and whether I played it on stream or not, I'll just add them in there and just be like, okay, this is it. Hades is technically 2021 that I finished it. Well, not finished.
It's 2021 for you.
It's 2021 for me, so I'm gonna be like, okay. If that case, it sits
also
really,
2021 for me.
So it sits pretty high up there.
Good game.
It's super cool. As well as the Ori games. Oh my god, dude! I
told you they were good.
Like Best Buy has the Switch like collection, which is just like the Ori collection. It's 1 and 2 together. Whether it be separate cartridges or just one, it's still gonna make me act up one of these days. I'm gonna look at that thing differently. I'm like, oh.
Get your tissues ready. Get them tissues ready.
Because I have the digital version on Xbox, and it's been a great time to play that. Even if I didn't have like the the Elite Series 2 at the time, it was still really good. But the whole collection on Switch, I'm like, oh, and there's also
playing through Hollow Knight for the first time actually.
Oh, nice. I was actually just looking at Hollow Knight like in my listings. I did beat that last year for Halloween, so yeah, that I can't add it to the list, but yeah, Hollow Knight's great.
It's pretty good. Like I was playing it, I was like, this definitely. I didn't realize it was a Kickstarter game. I was like, oh, I can see that then.
Yeah, everything hand drawn, bruh. No wonder it takes them like 5 ever.
When I was playing it, I was like, I was like, oh, I see. This reminds me of when I was playing it. It actually reminded me of Ori.
Yeah, they kind of follow like kind of a similar formula. Obviously, they're platformers too.
The way the backgrounds are drawn, the way the music goes.
Mm-hmm. I think in both sense, like they're both Metroidvanias. I think Ori kind of like starts to visually look a little bit more different in the art style for that. But definitely when you look at like Hollow Knight, you look in that map and you're like, this is definitely Metroidvania.
Especially like when I look at the backgrounds for both games,
Mm-hmm.
like the backgrounds, I'm like, oh yeah, a lot of inspiration.
Yeah,
it's
for
definitely,
sure.
I was like, I forget which came first, but I could definitely see an inspiration from one to the other.
Mm-hmm. I like the backgrounds for both, but
there's a lot of detail, and like they also do that thing where it's like, the made up languages.
Yeah. I mean, my dumb brain just went to like Resident Evil 4, where when the villagers was like mole.
Mole. I just think of Austin Powers. Mole.
But then when I think about Resident Evil 4 and the villagers, I immediately think of Chainsaw Man, and I shut up immediately. I'm just like,
you think of actually Chainsaw Man?
And not like Chainsaw Man from Chainsaw Man. I'm talking about like Resident Evil 4's Chainsaw Man.
You say Chainsaw Man, I think Chainsaw Man.
Nah, I'm just talking about the Chainsaw Man with the paper bag over his head. that
Ah,
that will instant kill you. And ever since the first time I saw that, it kind of, I wouldn't say traumatized, but I do think about that. Yeah, it makes your butt clench just a little bit. You're like,
airtight.
it's a little airtight when you see them and you're trying to like move away, but you have to like run past them. You're like, oh.
That's you when you landed next to that thing on Metroid Dread.
Oh.
I could tell it. Just that gasp, and laugh you had. I was like, "Yep, that man's attitude."
that was hearing the sound of a bullet like fly right past your ear. The funny thing is that after a couple tries in that same scenario, I actually got caught each time. So I caught the perfect opportunity where like the Emmy closed in on himself and like pressed himself up to get to the next platform. If he was still on that platform, I technically touched him, but it's because I caught him in the middle of that animation that I was able to just get scotch free. I was like, oh. But yeah, that was. I've only had one other instance where I caught something as I'm in a mid-fall, and that was like Sonic Mania, Knuckles in Lava Reef. I just glided just right on time to the edge of something right below lava. I was like, oh my god, dude. It was so nutty.
You legit landed directly next to it.
It was brilliant, but I could never.
If you had been any closer.
If I was even like any moment earlier. Yeah, it's crazy, but yeah.
Dead.
I would have been dead. Metroid dead.
Metroid dead. I'm pretty sure that's how it is for most people that are playing the game. Because I've heard that it's pretty scary when you get chased by those things.
Yeah, I mean, like it's weird because like obviously you have so much like viewage of like everything, but the fact is that it chases you, especially the ones that have the speed boost on them, and you're like, oh, why? It's
why?
I think it's simply because like they are not just because they chase after you, but it's also because they're insta kill like beings. So, I mean, you could parry them. Just good luck with that.
You could parry them. I mean, best of luck with that.
Right. So yeah, it's one of those games where it's like I gotta, just like Hades, I gotta jump back into that. Just have to.
There's a lot more you got to do, man.
Yeah, for sure. But in the meantime, there's just like another like set of games that are just always awaiting me, and that's literally the Tales of series. I'm currently like working through Symphonia. I think I'm in the second act of it, based on like how the plot is like changed. But after that, I'm gonna have to jump into Tales of Vesperia, which I temporarily like played through. But then you reminded me like, hey, there's also Symphonia. You should probably also do that. I'm like, ah, shit, you're right. Yeah, all right.
You know, the most popular of all the games.
I think I can agree with that too. It's not because of like the release date, but also just simply because of like just how it is. I don't
Variety,
know.
I would say.
Mm-hmm. But in any case, I got right here is just kind of part of the segue. I got the physical edition of Tales of Vesperia yesterday, and the reason I kind of jumped on this one was because of the fact that it's actually going to disappear on Game Pass either today or the 18th. So it's like, okay, well, I'll have the game data, but I won't have a valid like thing unless I pay like digitally or decide to buy physical. So I was like, okay, this is my chance to go for the physical now.
Yeah, and it's a good thing you did because that just went off Game Pass.
Ah, shit, dude. It's like, I mean, I won't be getting to this game anytime soon per se, but it's a shame that like I played it for a little bit and I have my save file. I just don't have like access to the game anymore. Yeah, so super happy now that I have like yet another one, and then Tales of Rise will come in at some point later. I'm actually gonna hold off on that one as far as actually buying it because, you know, this is gonna take a while. So the price does go down. That'll be a double plus on that. So whenever I finish like, what was it, Vesperia, that's when I'll jump into Arise. And speaking of other games to pick up, I did want to show these guys off real quick. They're not really much to show off physically, just like visually, but it is the Gears 4 and 5. Got a little bit of the story about these ones, unrelated to Tales. These two are actually pre-owned games from GameStop, and it was one of those things where I saw Gears 4, and I know in the back of my head, like, Gears 4 is something I don't see, like, physically available these days.
Yeah.
So I kind of had to jump on this one because it was pre-owned, and it was $10. So I was like, oh, that's actually kind of nice. All right, I'll do it. I kid you not, I brought this up to the front guy. Guy's super chill about him, but he did just open up, like, well, not the actual case itself. The game's actually in a drawer. He checked the disc, and I tried to not like just stare at it like while he was doing it, but he did have to clean the disc a little bit, and I was like, oh, this might not be good. So he went ahead, he like sprayed the solution, he did wipe it off, and I was like, okay, we'll see how, like, if it doesn't like respond to the disc, like when I like slot it into the Xbox, then it's just a loss, and I'll just return it. I get home, I check the disc, I'm like, oh hell, dude, there's smudges and shit. I was like, ooh, all right, give me 1 second. Get my little, just like some nice clean cloth, put it under water, and just like gently just wipe it. And I did a pretty good job. There's still like visual, I see like just a few scratches here and there just because of a previous ownership of it. And I was like, damn, dude, I'm not sure, but I'll try to download it anyway. So what I did is I went onto Xbox, I deleted the game like data, and just slide this in so it downloads directly through that. Thankfully, because of how Xbox is, you, whether you buy digitally or physically, the digital, like the physical, just pretty much acts as the physical license to say, okay, you can play the game, and the Xbox will actually just download the digital version. You'll still need to slot in the disc if you do it as just part of like a validation type of thing, but it was able to download everything successfully, so it's still good. So I take the dub for this one. And yeah, I mean, case is fine. I mean, aside from like a little scutch here, like at the edge here, it's totally fine. I was looking at Gears 5's copy, and I was like, okay, this is not bad. And I even looked at the disc. I was like, holy shit, this one looks really, really good. And I didn't find this out until later, but there is a little bit of a puncture, like right here, where whatchamacallit, when you open up the disc and you actually have like any type of like paperwork that can be held on, there's that little bump right there at the very bottom that is not really bounded by anything like supporting the back, so it's just like open air, so it got punctured somehow. And I was thinking like, is that like a real bother to me? No, it's not. Okay, this is the dub. So I now have these two like physically, and I'm happy about that, because it's one of those things where it's like, Gears is such a good franchise, and I have Gears Tactics, and we do have like 1, 2, 3, and 4. Well, 1 through 3. Maybe not Judgment, but I have everything else.
Judgment's on Game Pass.
It is on Game Pass, so yeah. So, and I don't think there's like really. Well, actually, I'm not really even bothered by not having Judgment to really worry about that. But if I do want to jump into that, I can. But yeah, so now officially, there are no more games I can. There's no much space on that top like cabinet shelf that I can really fit it into. I'd have to move everything around again. So yeah, the Switch library is like the chunkiest, and will definitely stay on top. And I'm moving PlayStation, Xbox like one level below it. So that's kind of the update like on the catalog there. Another thing that started recently for me, this is kind of shifting over to the anime side of things. Oh, I should also talk about Alan Wake. I finally got that too, so that's super nice. I haven't got to play that, and I'll probably want to start that like probably the week before Halloween weekend, That's probably going to be the plan, just so I can stay consistent with the Tales of Symphonia stuff. And then I haven't picked up Demon Slayer yet. Not yet. I was thinking about it like during my trip to GameStop. I was like, wait, I think I might have something at Best Buy, so I'll look into that later. But shifting more into the anime stuff, I wanted to give a shout out to an anime that kind of like came out a previous season ago, but it's called Jobless Reincarnation. I'm not sure if anyone remembers like that anime just by like just the title of it. It's yet another isekai type of thing, but I wanted to give shout outs to it because I did like the progression of that, as far as just, you know, of course, like main protagonist like died and gets reincarnated, and has another chance at life, and the way that they portrayed him prior to this change, like he was a real menace, like a real menace. He's like
menace.
Like he was the worst type of shut-in. Like a bunch of official dudes just like walked into like his little apartment, and he was about to throw a fist at them because he knew what was going on. He bounced off of like he pieced on like some type of funeral that wasn't really like explicitly shown as far as what it was. I think it was probably his folks. But he was like, whatever. So anyway, I started jacking, but all of a sudden, knock knock. Huh? Hey yo, don't come in here. And then he gets the shit beat out of him. Someone like looks over to his monitor, like, you piece of shit. And so he just gets kicked out of his apartment, I guess, or his house, and here comes Truck-kun, here to deliver you to the next world. And so like literally the first episode just kind of briefly expands on like him being born, still having like the mentality of like a 30 to 4-year-old, but now he's like a little toddler. And I loved how the comedy bits come into play. The fact is like he's super self-aware of this kind of stuff. His parents are pretty young, they're in their mid-20s, and they're both so attractive, so of course they bang every night. And then I don't know, the fact is like he's super casual about it, but he's absolutely a perverted person. And I don't know, I just like how with that laced into like the whole story, just how it slowly progresses and how the arcs shift, because the idea is that this series is going to cover like his entire life in his new life. So from baby to death is I think what is pretty much like the main time, the whole time frame here. So I know that there's a bunch of things happening now that it just got its second like half of the season going. So I think it's a 24 like episode type of thing for one season. They just had like a mid-season break. But I think now the main character has spent like about 8 years of his life like in the world, and he's obviously has a lot more experience than any other 8-year-old has. So it's just like a good jumping off point to kind of show us like what it's like in this like new world with new experiences, with prior knowledge of how things work out, and how that just kind of helps him and giving him another chance at life, because previously he was a piece of shit and now he's less of a piece of shit.
Less of a piece of shit now.
So shout outs if you guys are looking for something just with like a good amount of sustenance and something that could probably keep you going for like however many arcs and seasons it will have. Jobless Reincarnation is right there, so definitely giving it the plus for that. Animation is super good. Just the level of presentation is also really, really good too. But yeah, was there anything else? I guess I wanted to give an update on like the schedule for streaming and everything like that. I was talking about Demon Slayer like in my little notes here. It did came out today, and I was like, shit. Like, one thing is that like it speaks to me because like just like that level of quality of it's so good. and I just want to dedicate like a good stream session for that, and also like just shout outs to like Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm 4 as well while I'm at it. So I don't know when I'll be able to pick that up. I need to like double check like later today as far as like, can I do this deal that I have with Best Buy and just deduct that price just a little bit, because I've been obviously picking up games, so it's kind of difficult here. So could I get a price reduction? I think I can. So we'll see how that plays out. And then of course I talked about Alan Wake. That's going to be like pretty much the last week of October, and we'll just have like a dedication to that because obviously it's spooky a little bit. Alan Woke.
Ooh. Ooh.
I can't help but like think about like my reaction to the remaster of it. I was like, really? you're gonna open it up with this? My name is Alan Wake. Oh wow, dude, impressive.
Ooh.
Ooh, booty clenching.
Ooh.
Ooh, I'll make your booty clench. Ooh. And of course, we're still continuing with Tales of Symphonia as much as we can. I do want to say though, today for the rest of the day, I'll be pretty much preoccupied. We got the whatchamacallit, we have the D&D session. I'm super looking forward to this one. And after that, we got a watch party on Discord. We got Tokyo. We got Tokyo Revengers. We're gonna start from the very first episode to episode who knows where it is. What
24.
Oh shit, really 24? I think we can actually I can't do the math for it right now. But we'll make a pretty good we'll make good progress on that for sure.
Good dent.
Yeah, and then we'll see if that ultimately will affect the whole like schedule for Saturday streaming, because if Tokyo Revengers, as far as a watch party, is consistently like doing well as far as like us as a community just watching it together and having some feedback on it, then I'd pretty much be down to try out other like shows for watch parties. Honestly 2-Year Eternity is looking kind of nice right now. Looking kind of just the right amount of dreadful.
Just the right amount of pain.
Mm-hmm. And maybe like if anyone's interested, like look back at other like shows that have happened like previously. I'm also down for just like new ones, but like yeah, for sure. But yeah, so that's something I wanted to bring up, is that like Saturdays might be altered a little bit. We might have just like the podcast, and then I mean if you're down like on Discord, then like by all means join in and we'll have like a watch party and it'll be great. I hadn't also, where's my topics list here? Oh no, that was it. Yeah, that was pretty much it. All right, perfect. I think that's pretty much everything I wanted to talk about this week. Mark, did you have anything else you wanted to add?
Nothing personally with me.
Okay, gotcha. Except for, ooh, go make your booty clench. Make your booty clench. Ooh. I swear, if there's a rap that drops like sometime this month about the spookiness and the booty clenching.
You just spook me the booty clench. Hey. Give it a chance, it'll happen.
Oh my god. Yeah. All right, we'll go ahead and call it here. So thank you guys so much for watching this episode of DangIT Prodcast. It's been episode 382. Wow, damn. My name is Justin.
Bye.
And thanks for watching. # bye, everyone. Ooh. Gonna make that booty clench. Damn.